providing resources and comfort to caregivers. This is Caregiver Crossing.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't even know what time of the day it is right now, but welcome to Caregiver Crossing and thanks for being here. If it is your first time, you may want to know that Caregiver Crossing is a show brought to you by Joy's House, presented in partnership with our friends at Daron and Associates. And we are right here with you every week to discuss all things caregiving. I am Tina McIntosh and in studio with
Noah Taylor.
And Terry Stacy is not able to be with us this weekend. We miss her, but she will be back with us very soon. You know what is with us?
What's with us?
Is National Family Caregivers Month. So, welcome to November, people. November of 2024, by the way. I'm still in denial that it's 2024.
That cannot be right.
But it is one of our favorite months at Joy's House and here on Caregiver Crossing, and that is National Family Caregivers Month. It is a time that we recognize and honor family caregivers throughout the entire country. And so we do it for a number of reasons. Collectively, I say we as a big we, right?
Collective we.
Yeah,
correct.
The big we.
Yeah.
Want to raise awareness of family caregiver issues. We want to celebrate each of you as family caregivers. We want to educate family caregivers, particularly about self-identification, which let's hold on to that one. I want to talk about that one a little bit more. And then increase support for family caregivers and reduce feelings of isolation. And y'all, that one is huge.
That's sticking out like a sore thumb.
It is.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before in the show, but it's worth saying again that in the Indiana State of Aging report that came out not too long ago, about more than 30% of people responding who identified as caregivers said that they have thought about suicide within the last 30 days. Not acceptable.
No, that's way too high of a number.
Right? And we hear families say it all the time, like, I feel like I'm the only one going through it, and nobody understands, and I don't know where to turn for support. And we want you to turn here.
Yeah. We're here for you.
Yeah. And so you can get a hold of us, anytime at Joy's House. You can email me directly at tina@joyshouse.org. You are not alone. And at the same time, Noah and I know we will never say to you, we know exactly what you're going through.
Because there's absolutely no way. I don't have it. I might have an idea, but there's no way I know exactly what you're going through.
Right?
Every person is so different.
I go back to, caring for my dad before he passed away. My brother and sister and I were in it together, and we didn't know exactly what the other one was going through.
Yeah, even what your own family members are going through.
Yeah.
How would you?
So do you want to know my best advice when somebody says, like, oh, this is how we did it, or, I know exactly. I always say, I'm really glad that worked out for you.
Mm-hmm.
And not in a snarky way. Like, I'm really glad that worked for your family.
That does seem appropriate. It worked for your family. Maybe I'll try it, but
maybe
who's
I won't.
to say? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But so we just want you to know you are absolutely not alone. And let's talk about self-identification. I know, Noah, you know a bit about this. And why does it matter that a caregiver understands they're a caregiver, in addition to being a spouse or a partner or a child or whatever?
Yeah, so self-identifying as a caregiver is really, really critical in a few various settings to ensure that the care recipient and the caregiver receive the appropriate support they need. So I've kind of gathered some key areas where self-identification as a caregiver really, really matters. So the first one here is at your loved one's doctor's office. It's important just so you can participate fully in the care.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this. So self-identifying as a family caregiver means I'm not just coming in as the daughter. I'm not just coming in as the friend. I'm a caregiver as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for the folks at the doctor's office to know that, so that they know they can, one, if we need to sign something legally, releasing information to me.
That you're the person to do it.
Yeah. Okay. But also so they know that I'm a part of the care.
Exactly.
Part
I'm
of the care
journey.
partner. I'm part of the team. Okay. What else?
Next one who we have here is at your own healthcare provider. I think this one's really important too, so that your doctor can monitor your own well-being as a caregiver.
Okay, so how many of you listening do not tell your doctor that you're a caregiver?
I definitely never did.
Because you don't want to talk.
No, you absolutely do not want to talk about it, especially when you're already in an uncomfortable setting with the doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just here to talk about why my ankle hurts and don't pay attention to my tears.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, where else?
Another one kind of similar, at your therapist, just to ensure that you're receiving the correct support again. I think that's really similar to your own healthcare provider, just so, everyone's really on the same team. Another one we have is talking to your loved one's insurance company.
Oh, wait, talking to your loved one's insurance company? I would have never thought of that.
I don't think I would have either, but I think that's so important so that you can, communicate effectively with that insurance provider. And
Interesting.
so they know what's going on too.
That's a really good point. I've never even thought about that. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I've got some other ones here too. I'll just list them off pretty quickly. At the emergency room, you want to identify yourself as a caregiver. At the pharmacy, at work, with friends, and with faith leaders as well.
It's so different now, Noah. When I first started Joy's House 25 years ago, people were not identifying as a caregiver at work. And they were not identifying because they didn't want to get dinged. They didn't want to miss an opportunity for, a promotion, or they didn't want their boss to put them under a microscope because maybe they were leaving to go to the pharmacy or take their loved one to the doctor. And so I think we're in a different place. One of the things that I know we're in a different place. Great list, by the way.
Thank you.
I know we're in a different place, and we've talked about before that there was the president, the current president, President Biden, said to us last year, basically, get your act together in this nation when it comes to family caregiving. And he just put out a proclamation on National Family Caregivers Month. And if I can, I'm going to read you just a little bit of it.
I would love for you to read it.
All right. So it does start talking about children, but it says how we treat our young children, aging parents, and loved ones, and how we value those who care for them are fundamental to who we are as a nation. During National Family Caregivers Month, we pledge to get every family caregiver in this country the same kind of relief, respect, and support that they give so selflessly to others. It goes on to talk about why this is such an important month, and the folks that we are celebrating. There's some extended, I think, tax credits, maybe focus more on kids in there too. But there are a lot of us who are in that sandwich generation right now, caring for both children who are getting older and aging parents. And so at the end of this, he does say we have finalized new rules that strengthen staffing standards in nursing homes to ensure residents can age with dignity. We have made sure that home care workers get a bigger share of Medicaid payments so more Americans can keep living in their own communities and homes. And we have worked to increase Medicare resources to promote equitable access to care and caregiver training. And so there's more to it than this, but really grateful to President Biden for understanding that caregiving is a thing. It's an important thing, and it affects a lot of us. So I know we have to take a break, and we will be back here in just a few moments on Caregiver Crossing.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you as a service of Joy's House in partnership with Daron and Associates. With locations in Broad Ripple and near the University of Indianapolis campus, Joy's House provides exceptional day services for individuals living with a life-altering diagnosis and compassionate support for family caregivers throughout the community. At Joy's House, we believe that everyone deserves to live their best life, regardless of their abilities. Learn more about our adult day and caregiver support services by calling us at 317-254-0828 or visit joyshouse.org today. All right, stick around, everybody. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing shortly.
Welcome back to Caregiver Crossing. I'm Tina McIntosh, and I am in studio with our producer, Noah.
Hello.
And we're really happy to have two guests with us today. Daron Day, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Workforce Chaplains. If you don't know of them, you're going to be really happy to hear about them today. And then we've got Margo Ward with us too, and she's one of their dedicated chaplains. And so they both bring this great experience in supporting caregivers through leadership roles and being actively involved with them. And so we're just really, really happy to have like the heart and the soul of Workforce Chaplains here with us and this team that's committed to uplifting those for whom they care. So Daron, hello to you.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Margo.
Hi.
I understand that Daron did not inform you of the questions before we came into the mics here.
He did not.
So she's just going with it.
Yeah.
Right on a whim.
We got this. Really, I mean, this is really a conversation about what Workforce Chaplains is. And so, Daron, when you explain what it is you all do, how do you say that to somebody?
Well, we oftentimes start with is a motto we sort of stole with permission from the YMCA: love, serve, care. We got a good friend, Josh Easton, over there that looks after the chaplaincy program. And one of the things that we start with is that our goal is to love, serve, and care for, in our case, since we're in the workplace, your employees and their families. And then when we serve within the workforce, a lot of caregivers, we would say to the caregivers, it's a love, serve, and care. To explain what a chaplain is, I think to put it simply, it's that third-party, non-judgmental friend that loves you unconditionally, will go the extra mile. And in terms of the relationship, you have the power to lead, but they have the power to help. So we listen, we're a listening ear. And again, going back to we love, serve, and care for the needs.
So let's make this very practical. You all have a partnership with Joy's House, where Noah and I work. Who, Joy's House, Caregiver Crossing. The show is a venture of Joy's House, and your chaplains have made a huge difference for some of our coworkers and for us. So, what does that look like? Y'all come through the front door. We tackle you with hugs. You often have snacks, right? Like I love when your chaplains come in with their goodie bags. And the real heart of it, like what happens when somebody comes through those doors then?
Well, our hope is they make a friendship. Yeah. So the model is to make a friend and then be a friend through life, the ups and downs, and then, just be there for that person. So hopefully friendship. And sometimes that starts with a measure of goodwill, of benevolent gifts. And so our chaplains do, and that's part of what we invested. Hey, bring gifts for the team and find out what they love and like. And that's how a lot of people, it's a love language, I think, gifts, right?
It is.
Absolutely.
So we try to lean into that and show that. But that is one thing I think in terms of the world of wellness benefits, which is where we typically fit for organizations, where we stand out and I think provide a really unique way of caring is because there is an intentionality, there is a personableness of getting to know that person. And it really is someone who's going to be a friend.
And a safe place.
A safe place, yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't have to be, chaplain. I know, like, either the chaplains I've worked with through Workforce is they're Christian based, but that's not what they are leading with necessarily. And for me as a Christian, I mean, one of your chaplains was in last week, and I just said, hey, I'm getting ready to have a pretty serious, I'm having brain radiation any day now, and said, can you, would you say a prayer? And so he stopped and said a prayer, but I really was the one who, kind of initiated. It's more of a, what is it you need right now? Yeah. And what's going on in your life? So I think they do such a great job of being that friend and being that listening ear and a support system that sometimes as coworkers or bosses, we can't always do the way we want. Yeah. And so, Margo, for you, you are a chaplain and you are the person who walks through that threshold to do these very things we're talking about. Is there any experience for you that kind of sticks out?
Oh, I think all of it, because each company that we actually serve is different and they're all unique. Every company we serve has its own character. I mean, it's an organism. It's a person you walk into. So it's just a joy to walk in there and get to know the staff and get to know the story and kind of just to see where the journey leads us, because everyone is different. I happen to serve quite a few companies, but my background is caring as well. I happen to be, do a re-entry, so I do a lot of addiction counseling and those kinds of things. So it really is deep, delving into deep care. So this is a joy just going in, walking with people that are just like us, having life stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think through years of doing, because I've been a chaplain for many years, just with Workforce for a while, but for many years I've been a chaplain. And I think it's a matter of just listening and listening and listening. And then taking whatever they say and getting off their chest and rephrasing it and reframing it into something that makes sense. Mm. And that's just what friendship is. Mm-hmm. And sometimes things are just so personal, or you think it's that personal, or you experience it that personally, that you can't just go talk to a friend. We become friends And sometimes, actually, many times, we become a part of that friendship circle. And again, we happen to be Christian, chaplains, but it's very rarely that we actually go that route. It's more, hey, here we are, we're friends.
Well, I mean, as a Christian, I would say that's what Christ wants us to do, right? Is to love.
Love
others.
You walk along the same way.
That's right.
Together.
So what if my coworker, Bob, I don't know, there's no Bob, so it feels like a safe Bob name, right? No
I
Bob?
don't think there's a Bob.
Okay.
Maybe
help
a
me.
Robert. No, no
help.
Bob.
No, help. No Bob. If Bob said, I'm Buddhist or I'm Muslim or I'm atheist, can Bob still talk with you?
Absolutely.
And will you still love Bob?
Absolutely, because guess what? I'm going to learn a lot from Bob, right? Because, as you said, that's what it's for. It's not about the religions or beliefs. It's about the life that's happening right now. And that's where we meet them.
And I want people to hear that, right? That it doesn't matter what walk you come from or what belief you have. Like, you have a safe place to go with Workforce Chaplains. And so you work with the organizations or the individuals? I feel like this is a trick question.
Yes. So we work with organizations to get access to work with the individuals. The heart of what we do is one person with one person. And that's what makes it really, really powerful. They end up with this friend who's an advocate for them, that's well-connected in the community, is doing this out of a benevolent heart. And that's really powerful when it comes to people's wellness. And some of us have the benefit of having those people in our life. Maybe it's that aunt, that uncle, that parent, somebody who has the capacity and the training to help you in that way. But that's not everybody. I think I heard our president mentioned a survey one time I picked up on him sharing, and it was that they asked how many people have someone in your life that you feel like you can go to with anything, and it's a non-judgmental listening ear that's going to try to help you. And they did the survey, and they came with the result, and the answer was the average person had 0.7 persons, which you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it does, because what it means is for every person that had that one or two people in their life, there's people who said no one. And so that chaplain really fits uniquely in that role. And yeah, going back to your question there, Tina and Margo pointed out that it really is for everyone. And that's one of the unique things, and it sometimes is a misconception when people are considering bringing in chaplaincy, is that they're there to promote a particular faith, but our role is to love, serve, and care.
Right.
And then that goes and extended to everyone.
And you all are so open and so loving. We want to talk more about what this means for caregivers and how people can get in touch when we come back.
Yeah.
For now, you were hearing the voice, and you will after the break here, of Daron Day, who's the Chief Operating Officer for Workforce Chaplains, and Margo Ward, who is a chaplain with them. And so we're going to ask them to stick around, and we'll be back here in just a moment.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you as a service of Joyce House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. With locations in Broad Ripple and near the University of Indianapolis campus, Joyce House provides exceptional day services for individuals living with a life-altering diagnosis and compassionate support service for family caregivers throughout the community. At Joyce House, we believe that everyone deserves to live their best life regardless of their abilities. Learn more about our adult day and caregiver support services by calling us at 317-254-0828 or by visiting joycehouse.org today. That web address again is joycehouse.org. All right, stick around, everybody. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing right after this.
Welcome back to Caregiver Crossing. Again, I am Tina McIntosh. I'm in studio with our producer, Noah Taylor.
Hello.
And then we've got Daron Day, and we've got Margo Ward with us from Workforce Chaplains. And we were talking before the break about really what Workforce Chaplains does. Asked about, do you work for the organization or the individuals? And the answer is yes. Really hired by the organization to work with the individuals. How does family caregiving, knowing that this is a radio show for family caregivers, how does family caregiving play into that?
Well, I think one of the types of organizations, so we serve a broad variety of companies, large electrical companies to small law firms to nonprofits, for-profits, anyone that wants to extend extra love and care to their people. But you say, who is is some of your best success stories with. And I think it's those industries and those people where there are caregivers. So a large portion of our services is directed towards caregivers in senior home facilities, as well as caregivers like through Joyce House, their friends at Socoa. And so one of the things I think...
So it's more of the paid caregivers when we're talking about that. But the reality is when you're working with individuals, 1 in 3 of us is statistically a family caregiver. So you probably get both, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so the paid caregivers, my goodness, I mean, we are at such risk for compassion fatigue and burnout. I would imagine that comes up a lot for you all.
Right. Compassion fatigue, burnout. There's some other things that are specific to caregiving or hospital medical fields, which is grief. So chaplains are specifically trained and skilled in helping with areas of grief, because oftentimes in a time of grief, you're working through things that are of a spiritual nature, that are life and death. And so chaplains are a great resource for that. There's a variety of other topics like moral injury, other things that people deal with in caregiving that is specific to chaplaincy. So yes, but then all of the employees we serve throughout the state of Indiana and beyond, many of them we are available for all of their families. And so a lot of times the need with
say that again.
Yeah, so all the employees that we serve, we never contract and say we're just there for the employee. We're there for them and their household is what we say.
So for instance, you serve at Joy's house. Noah works at Joy's house. Noah has someone else in his household who could use that friend, that safe place, that sounding ear, somebody to help through grief, and you would work with that person too.
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah, that's huge.
From our perspective,
that is really incredible.
Yeah, from our perspective, the employer, oftentimes the reason they're interested in providing our care is from the heart, but also looking at things like their workforce and their ability to be productive and healthy and the best people they can be, the whole heart of wellness programs. And we know that's oftentimes directly correlated to what's happening in their household. So if we can provide care for someone in someone's household, maybe that actually is really what the need is.
That's incredible. So if someone is listening and they think, well, I want this. I want Margo to come and be my friend and be my safe place and, help me through this time by listening and listening and listening. Can someone call you individually? Do they have to go to their employer? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So one way, like, since we're on this podcast and I don't know if the people out there are connected to us through their employer or organization, our website, workforcechaplains.com, there's an 800 number, there's a prayer line. I mean, just send us a note. There are people that monitor that, that get that, and we'll figure it out for them individually. But conceptually, typically what I would say is to talk to their employer or their organizational lead. Maybe that's HR, maybe that's a director or a board member, and bring up the idea of chaplaincy. And then we're all over the state, and we love to meet and talk about the vision of, hey, how do we get this access of chaplain care to our team, to our organization, and then specifically to caregivers.
Workforcechaplains.com, is that what you said? Workforcechaplains.com. So perfect. You are hearing the voice of Daron Day, who's the COO for Workforce Chaplains, and then also Margo Ward, who is a chaplain. I'd like to know, Margo, from you, what advice would you give somebody who wants to seek a relationship with a chaplain but doesn't know how to go about it, other than go to workforcechaplains.com and talk with your employer? What advice would you give that person?
I would say, first of all, it is a good decision because we all have stuff. And there's always somebody that really cares. And sometimes we have a hesitancy to say, oh, I can sort this out myself. I can do this myself. No, we can't. We need people. People need people. And sometimes we just have the wrong people listening the wrong way. Not that they're necessarily wrong people in their lives. They're just listening the wrong way. So we're also there for relationships to help find a way that people in their lives can communicate better. We also meet off-site for coffee, for something like that. Let's say they want to meet a chaplain, but they don't want to tell the people at work, hey, I'm meeting with a chaplain. We love having coffee or a lunch or something and build a relationship that way. And just through talking and becoming a friend, I think it is a way to open up a little bit more and say, actually, it's not really what I told you I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with this relationship in my life. Only relationship and listening leads to what the real issue is. And it's just providing tools, providing ways to sort out our own stuff, right? And there are many ways to do that. And it starts with a listening ear and realizing there's no judgment. It's totally confidential. It doesn't even go back to the employee or the employer or the other employees. Nobody knows about it. So I think that is, if somebody wants to do that and doesn't know how to do it, knowing it's confidential and it's going to lead to a friendship and leading to other things that you are too afraid to mention, you can ease your way into saying, hey, could I share this or find help for this?
And I would add too, if you don't click with the first chaplain, whether, wherever it is, it's okay. Kind of like a therapist, right?
It is.
Or a doctor or whatever, to say, this isn't connecting for me. I'd like to talk with Daron. And Daron will be my workforce chaplain.
Yeah, we try to proactively.
No, take me.
But I think that's, that's a big factor too. And I would just encourage people, pick up the phone and make a phone call. Fill out the form on workforcechaplains.com or talk with somebody in your community. And it's okay just to pick up a phone and say to somebody on the other end who answers, who's maybe a chaplain or works with chaplains, to say, I don't know what to do. I picked up the phone, but I don't really know what to say. I just need somebody that I need to talk with. And I think you'd be surprised how many people on the other end of the phone would say, oh, tell me a little bit more, and I have the perfect person. So I know we're going to have to go. I saw Noah getting ready. Give us that website one more time.
It's workforcechaplains.com.
Easy enough. And you said there's a prayer request on there as well?
So you'll find on there a place like a contact form, and that would be the best way. And then if you're a partnering organization, there's usually a website directly for your organization where there'll be a list, a diverse team of chaplains. Like you mentioned, you can reach out to who you might see a fit with, as well as the prayer line as well. But yeah, caregivers need care, and so we're trying to complete that circle.
Thank you for everything that you do and your coworkers, and tell them all from Joy's House we say hello.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you by Joy's House in partnership with Daron and Associates. With 20 communities owned, operated, or managed in the Midwest and more than 40 years of senior living experience, Daron and Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Visit cardon.us for more information and to find a community near you. All right, stay put, everybody. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing right after the break. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Caregiver Crossing. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking around with us after that conversation. I am your producer, Noah Taylor, joined by my co-host,
Tina McIntosh, but I have to tell you all that Noah has something up his sleeve. He will not tell me what we're talking about.
I've got a little surprise for everybody today. So we've got a really, really big event that just happened at Joy's house.
Oh, now it all makes sense.
Yes,
I can do
so
this.
At Joy's house, we're kicking off our 25th anniversary year. And since I have the amazing Tina McIntosh, who is the founder, president, CEO, and of Joy's house and everything in
So
between.
many words.
I have some questions prepared for her to talk a little bit about Joy's house past and a little bit about the future as well. So I think, Tina, we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. So running a nonprofit for 25 years, over 2 decades, is obviously no small feat. What are some of the most important lessons that you've learned along the way?
Important lessons learned along the way. Well, I mean, the first thing, very early on, somebody told me to do one thing every day toward your goal. So whether it was fundraising or an email or a conversation or, doing some research, whatever it was, one thing every day would get you to your goal. And I think that was great advice starting out. I will also tell you that it's just something I think that I don't know where I learned this, but surrounding myself by people who were and who are better than me, smarter than me in a certain area, more connected than me, whatever it is. I mean, like, there are things, Noah, that you do way better than I do them. So why would I try to do them?
Right. I think that's so important for leadership to recognize. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I think that can translate to, quite frankly, it can translate to caregiving.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't have to be in the middle of everything, and surround yourself by people who can do some things better or different. Yeah, I think those are probably the biggest things. And maybe the other one is to love people where they are and for who they've been their entire lives. I mean, we've had thousands of people come through Joyce House as guests, and we might see them later in their diagnoses, but the reality is they're still them. I mean, go back to our interview a couple weeks ago with Becky Barton, the woman who, friend of ours that came on and talked about living with dementia. Like, she's still Becky. And so if you haven't heard that one, go find it on joycehouse.org because it's fantastic.
It's a good one. It's a really good one.
But yeah, so I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. What do you think has allowed Joyce House to stay so strong and continue to grow for these 25 years? And second part to this question, how has the community played a supporting role?
The community's been great. I mean, since the beginning. There's just such a need. And unfortunately, the need continues for both our adult day service, for our caregiver programs. And so the need, we wouldn't be here if there wasn't a need for what we're doing.
Very
we
true.
wouldn't be here without the kindness and generosity and involvement of the community. The other things that have allowed us to keep going is when we have a culture here that's just, we're very professional and we're talking about people in their lives and their loved ones. And we're also very informal at the same time. And so there's a magic in our culture at Joyce House that works really well. And we're innovative. We'll show up. I always say, I personally, my motto for me is I will do something if I'm the best person or the only person. And Joyce House has really adapted that model too. If we're the best ones or the only ones to do something that's needed within our mission,
Of course.
we will do it.
Yeah. And the next question here, looking back, what do you think is the most meaningful change you've seen at Joyce House since it first opened?
The most meaningful change. The culture has stayed the same the whole time. The most meaningful change is probably in the beginning, Noah, we didn't have, as the saying goes, I think it is like, we didn't have two pennies to rub together. We didn't have anything. I mean, and we didn't have a reputation. We didn't have, a history, and we just didn't have any money. Now, I don't mean that to sound like, oh, we're flush now. Like, we don't have money, but we can pay payroll and we can keep the lights on, and we would take your donation at any time at joycehouse.org. I mean, we live on the generosity and the kindness of the community. But in the beginning, it was scary. I mean, we just did. I didn't get paid for 2.5 years.
Wow.
We just didn't have money.
You were really dedicated. I mean, doesn't matter if you got paid or not. This was a mission that you're supporting.
No, but I do like getting paid now.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's different than I was cleaning houses and, doing all kinds of things. So
for a little bit of money. I mean, yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give to other organizations maybe trying to create the same kind of impact for caregivers, maybe in a different state?
Do it your way. Well, and do in Indiana too. We still have so much need here. Like, read the textbooks, read the papers, take the classes, do the things, and do it your way. And your way might not always be what you read in a textbook, and that's okay.
I think that's absolutely okay because, like we were talking about earlier, everybody's so different.
Yes.
It needs to be done your own way.
Yep.
All right. Well, I've got one more question here for you, Tina. What can supporters of Joyce House look forward to in the next 25 years?
I'm so tired. That question, I'm like, can we say 5?
Yeah, 25 is a long time.
A quarter century of being around is a long time, but we've got big things coming. And so at the top of the year, we are going to be bringing in a president of Joyce House. Her name is Maggie Blake. She is your current boss and will continue on as such, but to run the operations of the organization. And then I will get to move into CEO. And so that does 2 things. One, that allows us to focus on our day-to-day care and the things that we've always done so well, and just make sure we're doing each of those things exceptionally. Because as you all know, when you get spread too thin, it gets very complicated. And that's where I've been for a number of years, probably since COVID. And I think as staff, we all have been to a certain degree. And so the other part of that is we want to look at these caregiver programs like Visit caregiverway.com that we've created. How can we help shape what family caregiving looks like in the state of Indiana and maybe beyond, and how we are aging well in the state of Indiana? So taking the governor's multi-sector plan and some of these other things, BOLD initiative and some things that are in place in our state will be put in place at the top of the year, and figuring out how do we do the things that need to be done
Mm-hmm.
with the people who are smarter and better and more connected in other areas. So it doesn't mean Joy's House has all the answers or does all the things. We need all of our friends in aging to be a part of that, to make it
Absolutely.
great. And so that's a huge focus for us at the top of the year.
Well, it sounds like there's so many exciting things for supporters of Joy's House to look forward to.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, if you want to be a part, if you're looking for, you want to be a part of these efforts, or you have ideas for the show, things like that, of course, or if you're looking for an end of the year donation, and I really mean that, like, I don't mean to sound so lighthearted when I say it, we need that. And you can email me at tina@joyshouse.org. If you want to make a donation, go to joyshouse.org directly and just click on, give, and we'll get you there. So I know we need to close out. We need to thank somebody before we go.
Caregiver Crossing is supported by Daron and Associates, with 20 communities owned, operated, or managed in the Midwest, and more than 40 years of senior living experience. Daron and Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Until next time, take good care of each other.